Yo, what's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into Liberia, a haven for the formerly enslaved. Liberia? Where's that? It's on the west coast of Africa, bordering Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Côte d'Ivoire. Liberia translates to Land of the Free. From its founding by freed American slaves to its present-day struggles and triumphs. Picture this. It's the early 19th century, and the transatlantic slave trade is in full swing. Horrific, right? Amidst this darkness, a glimmer of hope emerged. The American Colonization Society, or ACS. The ACS had a controversial plan to send freed Black Americans back to Africa. Their motives were complex and, let's be real, a tad problematic.
Regardless, the ACS established the first settlement in Liberia in 1822. In 1847, Liberia declared its independence, becoming the first independent republic in Africa.
But hold your horses, folks, because Liberia's journey to freedom was far from over. You see, the newly formed nation faced a whole new set of challenges: internal conflicts, political instability, and economic struggles. It's like they say, mo money, mo kapsa, or in the case of Bawara.
Despite its noble beginnings, Liberia's political landscape was plagued by tension between the Americo-Liberians, descendants of the original settlers, and the indigenous population. This power imbalance, coupled with economic disparities, created a recipe for disaster, leading to coups, unrest, and sadly, even civil wars.
From the 1980s onwards, Liberia was ravaged by two brutal civil wars, leaving the nation scarred and struggling to rebuild. It was a heartbreaking chapter in Liberia's story, a stark reminder that freedom, once achieved, must be fiercely protected and nurtured. Okay, so we've covered the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. But what about Liberia today? Well, my friends, there's hope on the horizon. Since the end of the Second Civil War in 2003, Liberia has been on a slow but steady path to recovery. They've held democratic elections, established a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to address past atrocities, and are working hard to rebuild their infrastructure and economy.
Of course, challenges remain. Poverty, corruption, and access to education and healthcare are still major issues, but there's a sense of optimism in the air. Liberians are resilient people, and they're determined to create a brighter future for themselves and their children.
And that's what makes this story so compelling. It's a testament to the enduring human spirit, the unwavering belief in a better tomorrow. Now, let's talk about rubber. No, not the kind you're thinking of. I'm talking about the natural rubber boom that swept through Liberia in the early 20th century.
See, Liberia was blessed with an abundance of rubber trees, and global demand was high, especially for those newfangled automobiles. Foreign companies, particularly the American-owned Firestone Tire and Rubber Company, swooped in, establishing massive plantations and striking deals with the Liberian government.
Now, this could have been a win-win, right? Well, not exactly. While rubber brought in some revenue, it also led to exploitation, land displacement for local communities, and a classic case of resource curse.
Imagine a bunch of dudes in suits showing up in your village, offering you pennies for your ancestral land to grow tires. Not exactly a fair trade.
Fast forward to the 1970s, and things were starting to boil over in Liberia. The gap between the rich and poor was wider than a Kardashian's vocabulary, and the indigenous population was fed up with being treated like second-class citizens in their own country.
Then came the rice riots of 1979. The government, trying to appease the International Monetary Fund, decided to raise the price of rice, a staple food in Liberia. Bad move, guys. Bad move.
This sparked widespread protests, which were brutally suppressed by the government. The rice riots were a turning point. They exposed the deep-seated grievances and inequalities that had been festering for decades. It was only a matter of time before the simmering discontent erupted into full-blown conflict. And here's where things get really heavy, folks. In 1989, Liberia plunged headfirst into a brutal civil war. Fueled by ethnic tensions, political ambitions, and a whole lot of anger, the war lasted for 7 long years, leaving an indelible scar on the nation's soul.
Charles Taylor, a charismatic but ruthless warlord, emerged as a key figure, leading a rebellion against the then-president Samuel Doe. What followed was a horrific cycle of violence, atrocities, and human rights abuses that shocked the world.
Child soldiers were recruited, women were subjected to unspeakable horrors, and entire communities were torn apart. It was a dark chapter in Liberia's history, a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the devastating consequences of unchecked hatred. All right, folks, so we've journeyed through the turmoil of Liberia's past, the good, the bad, and the downright heartbreaking. Now, let's fast forward to the present. It's 2024, and Liberia is still finding its feet after decades of conflict. Imagine trying to rebuild your life after a house party gone wrong, but on a national scale. Yeah, it's intense.
Monrovia, the capital city, is a bustling mix of old and new. You've got gleaming new buildings popping up alongside structures still riddled with bullet holes. It's a city caught between its war-torn past and its aspirations for a brighter future. Kinda like that friend who still rocks the same ripped jeans from college, but now pairs them with a blazer for job interviews.
Speaking of jobs, unemployment is a major issue in Liberia. Many people, especially young people, struggle to find decent work. Imagine graduating with honors, only to find out the hottest job opening is selling phone credit on the side of the road. Talk about a reality check. But hey, Liberians are nothing if not resourceful. They've got that entrepreneurial spirit, that hustle mentality. You'll find street vendors hawking everything from fresh produce to phone chargers, turning every corner into a mini marketplace. It's like a real-life version of Amazon, but with more haggling and way less packaging.
And let's not forget about the power of mobile technology. Mobile money is huge in Liberia, with services like Orange Money and Lone Star MTN. Mobile money connecting people in ways traditional banks could only dream of. You can pay your bills, send money to your grandma in the village, and even order a pizza all from your phone. Take that, Silicon Valley.
Of course, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Poverty is still a major challenge, and many people struggle to make ends meet. But amidst the hardships, there's a sense of hope, a belief that things are slowly but surely getting better. Section 3, Education, 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 the key to unlocking potential. Now, everyone knows education is key, right? It's like the saying goes, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Or in Liberia's case, teach a man to fish. And he can start a sustainable aquaculture business and create jobs for the whole community. See, we're all about that economic empowerment.
The government knows this too, and they've been making efforts to improve access to education. More kids are going to school now than ever before, but the quality of education still needs some work. Imagine trying to learn algebra in a classroom with no textbooks and a leaky roof. Not exactly conducive to academic excellence.
But there's hope on the horizon. Organizations like Bridge Academies and Rising Academies are working to provide quality education to underprivileged communities. They're like the superheroes of the education world, swooping in with innovative teaching methods and a whole lot of dedication. Section 4. Can Liberia kick corruption to the curb? Let's talk about the elephant in the room, corruption. It's a problem that plagues many countries, and Liberia is no exception. It's like that annoying mosquito that keeps buzzing around your ear, except instead of a tiny bite, it sucks away resources and undermines trust in government.
But hey, there's some good news. Liberia has been making strides in the fight against corruption. They've established institutions like the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, or LACC, to investigate and prosecute corrupt officials. It's like a game of whack-a-mole, except instead of moles, they're trying to catch crooked politicians.
Of course, changing deeply ingrained systems takes time and effort. It's like trying to teach an old dog new tricks, but with more paperwork and legal battles. But there's a growing movement of citizens and activists demanding transparency and accountability. They're the true heroes of the story, using their voices to hold those in power responsible. The Liberian spirit. Resilience personified. Liberians are resilient. They've faced civil wars, economic hardships, and Ebola outbreaks. Yet they hold on to community, humor, and belief in a brighter future.
Survive a civil war, rebuild homes, start a business, then Ebola hits. But they fight back. That's the Liberian spirit.
Now, let's talk about the Liberian diaspora. We're talking about millions of people of Liberian descent who are scattered all over the globe. The US, Europe, other parts of Africa. They're doctors, nurses, engineers, entrepreneurs, you name it. And they haven't forgotten about their roots.
Many send money back home to support their families. We're talking billions of dollars in remittances flowing into Liberia every year. That's right, billions. That's money going straight into the hands of ordinary people, helping them put food on the table, pay school fees, and even start small businesses.
But it's not just about the money. More and more Liberians in the diaspora are returning home, bringing their skills and experience with them. They're starting businesses, investing in their communities, and working to rebuild their nation from the ground up. It's like a reverse brain drain. where the knowledge and expertise flow back to where they're needed most. Now, let's talk about the real MVPs of Liberia's recovery, the women. I'm not talking about your average bake sale organizers here. I'm talking about women who stared down warlords, brokered peace deals, and are now leading the charge for change in all sectors of society.
Remember Lema Gaboe? She's the Liberian peace activist who mobilized thousands of women to demand an end to the civil war. She even got a Nobel Peace Prize for her efforts. And she's not alone. From the market stalls to the halls of parliament, Liberian women are making their voices heard and demanding their rightful place at the table.
They're starting businesses, running for office, advocating for education and healthcare, and raising the next generation of leaders. They know that lasting peace and development can't happen without women's full and equal participation, and they're not taking no for an answer. Okay, let's get real for a second. Liberia is blessed with an abundance of natural resources, fertile land, ample rainfall, and a coastline teeming with fish. We're talking about a country that could be a breadbasket for the region, if not the continent. So, why are we still talking about poverty and food insecurity?
Well, decades of conflict and neglect have taken their toll on the agricultural sector. But here's the good news. Things are changing. There's a growing movement towards sustainable agriculture, with organizations and individuals working to empower farmers, promote local food systems, and ensure that everyone has access to nutritious food.
We're talking about things like organic farming, agroforestry, and even fish farming. It's about working with nature, not against it, to create a more sustainable and equitable food system for all Liberians. And that's a recipe for a brighter future.
All right, folks, it's 2024 and Liberia has a newish captain steering the ship. Say hello to President Joseph Boakai.
Now, before you go, wait. Who? This ain't Boakai's first rodeo in Liberian politics. He's been around the block a few times, serving as vice president for a hot minute. But now, the big chair is all his.
And you know what they say about big chairs, right? They come with big expectations. The pressure is on for Boakai to deliver on his promises of economic growth, job creation, and a brighter future for all Liberians. No pressure, Mr. President, no pressure at all.
The vibe on the streets is a mix of cautious optimism and, we've heard this before, skepticism. It's like that feeling you get when your favorite team hires a new coach. You want to believe, you really do, but you've also been burned before. Only time will tell if Boakai can turn things around. So, what's Boakai's grand plan for Liberia? Well, he's been talking a big game about infrastructure development, education reform, and improving healthcare. Think of it like this. He wants to give Liberia a serious makeover, from its pothole-ridden roads to its overcrowded classrooms.
He's promising to attract foreign investment, create jobs, and boost the economy. He's also vowed to tackle corruption head-on. Now those are some lofty goals, Mr. President.
It's like that friend who announces they're going vegan, gluten-free, and training for a marathon all at the same time. We're rooting for you, but we also know how hard it is to change old habits. The million-dollar question is, can he actually pull it off?
Can he navigate the complex web of political alliances, economic challenges, and social divisions to deliver on his promises? One of the biggest challenges facing Boakai is the need to unify a nation still deeply divided along ethnic and political lines. It's like trying to blend oil and water, except the oil is a history of conflict and mistrust, and the water is, well, everyone just trying to get by.
Boakai needs to find a way to bridge the gap between the Americo-Liberian elite and the indigenous population, between rural communities and urban centers, between those who benefited from the old system and those who were left behind. It's a tall order, but hey, that's what they pay him the big bucks for, right?
Some say he's the right man for the job, pointing to his experience and his reputation for being a consensus builder. Others are more skeptical, arguing that he's too much of a political insider, too tied to the old ways of doing things. Only time will tell if Boakai can rise above the fray and usher in a new era of unity and progress. Liberia isn't an island, folks. The international community is watching closely to see how things unfold under Boakai's leadership. Will foreign governments and investors see Liberia as a land of opportunity or a risky gamble?
On one hand, there's a lot of goodwill towards Liberia. The international community poured billions of dollars into rebuilding the country after the Civil War. They want to see Liberia succeed, to become a beacon of hope and stability in the region.
But on the other hand, they're also looking for concrete results. They want to see progress on issues like corruption, human rights, and good governance. They want to be sure that their investments are actually making a difference, not just lining the pockets of corrupt officials. No pressure, Mr. President, no pressure at all.
So, there you have it, folks. We've journeyed through Liberia's wild ride of a history, from its hopeful beginnings to its tumultuous present. It's been a roller coaster of emotions, kind of like that time you tried to assemble IKEA furniture after a long day.
But here's the thing about Liberia. Just when you think you've got it all figured out, it throws you a curveball. It's a land of contradictions, a place where resilience and hardship coexist, where hope battles against the odds.
The road ahead for Liberia is far from smooth. There will be bumps, detours, and maybe even a few wrong turns. But amidst the challenges, there's a palpable sense of possibility, a belief that a brighter future is within reach. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's a nice story and all, but why should I care about Liberia? What's it got to do with me? Well, my friend, Liberia's story is a reminder that freedom is a precious and fragile thing, something that must be constantly nurtured and defended. It's a reminder that we're all interconnected, that what happens in one corner of the world affects us all. And it's a reminder that even in the face of adversity, the human spirit can triumph. So how can you be a part of Liberia's story? Well, you can start by educating yourself, by learning more about Liberia's history and its people. You can support organizations working on the ground to make a difference. And you can spread the word, share Liberia's story with your friends and family. Because when we shine a light on injustice, when we amplify the voices of those fighting for a better future, we all win. So, what's next? What will you do with the story of Liberia? Will you let it inspire you to take action, to make a difference in your own community, or even on a global scale? The power to change the world lies in each of us, in the choices we make every day. Remember, every small action counts. Imagine a world where we all take a stand against injustice, where we all work together to build a brighter future. Liberia's resilience, its spirit, its story, these are not just tales from a distant land. They are a call to action, a reminder that we all have a role to play in shaping the world we want to live in. So let's take this journey together. Let's make a commitment to stand up for freedom, to support those in need, and to be the change we wish to see. Because when we come together, when we unite our efforts and our hearts, there is no limit to what we can achieve.